You believe you are the captain of your own soul, the master of your fate, and the architect of your own decisions. You walk through life assuming that when you choose a career, buy a house, or judge a stranger, you are using logic, reason, and evidence. But you are wrong. There is a stranger in the cockpit of your mind, a silent biological machine that steers you toward mistakes you do not even see coming until the wreckage is already smoking on the ground. You are not a rational agent, you are a machine designed by evolution to jump to conclusions. This is the exhaustive, expert-level breakdown of Daniel Kahneman's Thinking, Fast and Slow. This isn't just a book, it is the demise of Homo economicus, the dismantling of the idea that humans are logical creatures. We are talking about the life's work of a Nobel Prize winner who, alongside Amos Tversky, redefined the human condition. I'm going to show you the receipts, the pupillometry studies, the rigged wheels of fortune, and the starvation data from parole judges that prove your conscious mind is barely in charge. Most people think that errors in judgment are just random noise, simple mistakes that cancel each other out over time. The truth is that your mind is prone to systematic errors, predictable biases that act like optical illusions for your intelligence. In the next few minutes, you are going to learn exactly how your brain manufactures a fake reality, why you are statistically destined to lose money in the stock market, and the 3 specific protocols you must install to stop your brain from lying to you. Daniel Kahneman wrote this to solve a core problem. We place way too much confidence in human judgment because we do not understand the machinery that produces it. The central thesis is that the brain operates not as a unified processor, but through 2 distinct competing systems. Kahneman calls them System 1 and System 2. These aren't physical parts of the brain you can touch, they are characters in the drama of your life, and understanding them is the only way to stop sabotaging yourself. Here is the setup. System 1 is the automatic mode. It is a relic of our ancient evolutionary history, designed for survival in a dangerous environment. It operates rapidly, continuously, and involuntarily. It is the system that detects hostility in a voice, calculates the distance of an object instantly, or completes the phrase, bread and without you even trying. It is a machine for jumping to conclusions, constructing a coherent interpretation of reality from the moment sensory data hits your eyes. It doesn't care about accuracy, it cares about speed. System 2, by contrast, is the domain of conscious reasoning. It is slow, serial, and effortful. It is the system required to park in a narrow space, fill out a tax form, or search for a woman with white hair in a crowd. This is the you that you identify with, the conscious I. But here is the brutal reality that hurts to hear. System 2 is a lazy controller. It consumes glucose, it causes physical strain, and it is expensive to run. So, to save energy, it lets System 1 run the show 98% of the time, accepting its intuitive suggestions without scrutiny. Let's prove this right now with a simple test from the book. A bat and a ball cost $1.10 in total. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? A number just popped into your head. System 1 screamed 10 cents. It feels right. It feels intuitive. But if the ball is 10 cents and the bat is $1 more, the bat is $1.10. The total would be $1.20. The intuitive answer is wrong. The correct answer is 5 cents. If you got it wrong, it is because your System 2 was too lazy to check the math. It simply endorsed the intuitive signal from System 1 and moved on. This is the law of least effort in action. This physiological laziness has terrifying real-world consequences. Kahneman details the concept of ego depletion. Self-control and cognitive effort draw from the same limited pool of mental energy. When you are forced to exercise self-control, your ability to perform difficult cognitive tasks diminishes. A striking example involves parole judges who reviewed applications all day long. The default decision, the safe, System 1 status quo, is to deny parole. The study found that parole was granted roughly 65% of the time immediately after a food break. However, as the time since the last meal increased, the approval rate dropped steadily, reaching near zero just before the next break. As the judges' glucose levels and mental energy depleted, their System 2 grew too tired to override the easy default of deny, demonstrating that justice is biologically constrained. But it's not just fatigue that blinds you, it's the way your brain connects ideas. System 1 functions as an associative machine, which makes you vulnerable to priming. This leads to the controversial Florida effect. In an experiment, participants assembled sentences from words associated with the elderly, like Florida, gray, wrinkle, or forgetful. The word old was never used. After the task, these participants walked significantly slower down a hallway than the control group. This is the ideomotor effect. The idea of old age was primed, activating the behavior associated with it without any conscious awareness. The same thing happens with money. Priming subjects with images of money induces a state of individualism. They become less willing to help others and physically place their chairs farther apart from peers. System 1 constructs a worldview based on the subtle cues of the environment, altering your behavior in ways your conscious mind fails to detect. Most people stop their analysis there, thinking they just need to be more aware. But awareness isn't enough because of the most significant structural flaw of System 1, its insensitivity to missing information. Kahneman coins the acronym YCAD, what you see is all there is. System 1 seeks coherence, not completeness. It is easier to construct a coherent story when you know little, because there are fewer pieces to fit into the puzzle. This explains the halo effect. If we see a politician is handsome and friendly, System 1 guesses that he is also generous and competent. We take the one observed trait and paint a complete picture, ignoring the massive gaps in our knowledge. This creates the illusion of validity. Our confidence in our beliefs depends on the quality of the story we can tell, not on the quality or quantity of the evidence. This brings us to the anchoring effect, one of the most robust phenomena in psychology. It occurs when people consider a particular value for an unknown quantity before estimating it. In a rigged experiment, Kahneman and Tversky built a wheel of fortune, marked to stop only at 10 or 65. Participants spun the wheel and were then asked to estimate the percentage of African nations in the UN. Those who saw the number 10 estimated 25%, while those who saw 65 estimated 45%. A completely random, irrelevant number exerted a massive influence on their judgment. Your brain latches onto the first number it sees, a salary offer, a list price on a house, and you struggle to adjust away from it because adjustment is a System 2 effort. But numbers are not the only thing that breaks your brain. Probability does too. We are pattern seekers who struggle with randomness. This is the law of small numbers. Kahneman cites a study showing that the counties with the lowest incidence of kidney cancer in the U.S. are mostly rural, sparsely populated, and Republican. System 1 immediately generates causal stories: clean air, low stress. But the counties with the highest incidence of kidney cancer are also rural, sparsely populated, and Republican. It isn't about politics or air quality, it's about sample size. Small samples yield extreme results more often than large samples. We suppress ambiguity and construct a causal story for what is merely a statistical fluctuation. Let's pause for a second and break your brain with the Linda problem, the most famous demonstration of the conflict between logic and intuition. Linda is 31, single, outspoken, and bright. She majored in philosophy and participated in anti-nuclear demonstrations. Which is more probable? Option A, Linda is a bank teller. Option B, Linda is a bank teller and is active in the feminist movement. About 85% of people choose option B. But this is a logical impossibility, a conjunction fallacy. The probability of two events occurring together can never be greater than the probability of one of them occurring alone. Every feminist bank teller is a bank teller. But feminist bank teller is a rich, coherent story that fits the description of Linda, whereas bank teller does not. Logic is overruled by the narrative coherence of System 1. We are addicted to stories. This is the narrative fallacy. We have a compulsion to create flawed, explanatory stories of the past that shape our view of the world. We focus on a few striking events, like Steve Jobs' genius, and ignore the thousands of random factors and near misses that were essential to the outcome. This creates an illusion of inevitability via hindsight bias. Once an event happens, we restructure our memory to believe we knew it all along. This is dangerous because it gives us the illusion that the world is predictable, when it is largely governed by chance. Kahneman found that stock pickers at a major investment firm had a year-to-year correlation of 0.01, zero consistency. They were rolling dice, but they felt like they were using skill. So how do we make decisions in this fog of bias? This brings us to Kahneman's Nobel Prize-winning contribution, prospect theory. For centuries, economists believed in expected utility theory, assuming we make decisions based on the final state of wealth. But Kahneman proved that we evaluate value based on gains and losses relative to a neutral reference point. And here's the key: we are loss-averse. The psychological pain of losing $100 is roughly twice as intense as the pleasure of gaining $100. This leads to the endowment effect. We value things more simply because we own them. In the mug experiment, sellers demanded about $7 for a mug, while buyers were only willing to pay about $3. The ownership created value out of thin air because giving up the mug felt like a loss. This fear of loss drives us to irrational extremes. When we face a high probability of a bad outcome, we become risk-seeking. We accept a small chance of a massive disaster just to avoid a sure loss. This is why traders double down on losing bets and why people refuse to sell a crashing stock, hoping to break even. We are terrified of admitting defeat, but the deepest insight in the book is about happiness itself. Kahneman introduces the distinction between the experiencing self and the remembering self. The experiencing self lives in the present and answers, "Does it hurt now?" The remembering self keeps score and answers, "How was it?" The remembering self is a tyrant. It does not sum up the total happiness or pain. It uses the peak-end rule. In a study of colonoscopy patients, those who had a longer procedure that ended with mild discomfort rated the experience as less painful than those who had a shorter procedure that ended on a high pain spike. The duration of the pain was neglected. We make decisions, booking vacations, choosing jobs, based on maximizing the memory of the experience, not the quality of the experience itself. Money buys a better story of your life satisfaction. But beyond $75,000 a year, it does very little to improve your emotional well-being, the actual happiness of your day. So, if our minds are riddled with these bugs, what can we do? We cannot simply turn off System 1. It is biological and necessary, but Kahneman offers specific tools to tame it. First, you must recognize cognitive strain. When things are easy, you are in System 1. When things are hard, System 2 is awake. You can force System 2 to engage. Second, you must use the outside view. When planning a project, ignore the specific details of your case and look at the statistical distribution of outcomes for similar projects, the reference class. But the most powerful tool is the premortem. Before you finalize a major decision, call a meeting and say, "Imagine we are 1 year in the future. The project has failed remarkably. Write a history of that disaster." This legitimizes doubt and forces System 2 to search for threats that the optimistic System 1 has ignored. It breaks the groupthink of success. Thinking fast and slow is not just a catalog of biases. It is a plea for humility. We are not the rational econs of standard theory. We are humans, governed by a hasty System 1 and a lazy System 2. We are prone to substituting easy questions for hard ones, ignoring base rates, and fearing losses more than we value gains. But by mapping the boundaries of our rationality, we can navigate them. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be less wrong. And the first step is realizing that the voice in your head, the one that feels so sure of itself, is often the one you should trust the least. If you want the deeper dive, the link to the book is in the description.